Smoke drifted low across the broken valley, turning the afternoon sun into a dull orange glow. Radios crackled with half-finished sentences, and the exhausted soldiers crouched behind shattered stone walls exchanged the same quiet thought. It's over. The enemy had pushed closer with every passing minute. Ammunition was thinning. Morale was thinner. The unit had been fighting for hours, and the line that once looked strong now felt like a thread ready to snap. Somewhere near the back of the position, an 18-year-old sniper lay motionless behind a weathered ridge, and no one expected him to change anything. Evan Carter had only joined the unit 3 months earlier. To most veterans, he was still the quiet kid who double-checked his equipment too often and listened more than he spoke. His youth showed in the careful way he moved, as if he still feared making mistakes in front of older soldiers. But right now none of that mattered. Through the narrow circle of his scope, Evan watched the distant hillside where the enemy advance had begun. Dust swirled in slow spirals under the hot wind, blurring shapes and shadows, until every movement looked uncertain. His heart pounded louder than the distant gunfire. Inside his mind, doubt whispered, "You're too young, too inexperienced. This isn't your moment." He exhaled slowly, letting the words fade, because another voice, quieter but stronger, reminded him why he had trained so hard, not for glory, for moments like this. A sudden shout echoed down the defensive line. "They're moving again." Panic stirred among the soldiers as several figures appeared through the haze, advancing carefully toward the broken valley floor. Their strategy was simple: overwhelm the position with numbers and force the defenders to retreat. The unit commander scanned the horizon with binoculars. He didn't say the words aloud, but he felt them. If this push succeeded, everything would collapse. Behind his scope, Evan adjusted the rifle slightly, measuring the shifting wind and the uneven ground. Between him and the distant ridge, one figure stood out among the others, a leader, judging by the signals he was giving. If that movement continued, the enemy would close the distance within minutes. Evan's finger rested lightly near the trigger, his breath slowed. In that quiet moment, the chaos of battle seemed to fall away. There was only the rhythm of the wind, the gentle pressure of the rifle against his shoulder, and the narrow line between doubt and action. He squeezed the trigger. The shot cracked across the valley. For a heartbeat, nothing changed. Then the advancing line hesitated. One figure fell. Confusion rippled through the enemy formation. From their perspective, the shot had come from nowhere. The commander on the defensive line blinked in surprise, lowering his binoculars. Who fired that? Evan was already adjusting his position again, because the hesitation had created something rare in battle: opportunity. Another target appeared, another signal being passed among the advancing group. Another shot rang out. The ripple of confusion spread wider this time. The once confident advance slowed, then faltered as uncertainty replaced momentum. Soldiers who had been ready to retreat moments earlier suddenly realized something important. The pressure had shifted, not dramatically, not all at once, but enough. Down the line, a veteran sergeant shouted encouragement to the others. "Hold the position." Evan continued working quietly from his ridge, his movements steady now, his focus sharpened by the realization that his actions mattered. Not because he was the strongest soldier there, but because sometimes a single moment of clarity can change the course of an entire fight. Minutes later, the enemy advance finally stopped. They withdrew slowly into the dusty hills, uncertain of what force had disrupted their momentum. On the defensive line, the exhausted soldiers exchanged stunned glances. What just happened? The commander looked toward the ridge where Evan lay hidden, and for the first time he noticed the young sniper lowering his rifle. Evan's hands trembled slightly as the adrenaline faded. He wasn't celebrating, he wasn't even smiling, he was simply breathing again, because courage doesn't mean the absence of fear, it means acting despite it. The commander approached him later, studying the young soldier carefully. "You held the line," he said quietly. Evan shook his head. "No, sir." He glanced down the valley where his teammates now stood safely regrouping. "We all did." The commander smiled faintly, because that was the answer of someone who truly understood the weight of responsibility. Victory is rarely the work of a single hero. It grows from the quiet courage of ordinary people who choose to stand firm when the world whispers that it's over. And sometimes the smallest voice on the battlefield becomes the one that changes everything. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments what courage means to you. And don't forget to subscribe to Cinematic Whispers for more powerful stories about resilience, bravery, and the unexpected heroes among us.